Alright, so is PEX dangerous to use in your home? Will it give you cancer if you keep drinking from it? A lot of people have their doubts about this plastic pipe known as PEX, or cross-linked polyethylene, on if it's really safe to use for drinking water or if it isn't, and with reason. I was lucky enough to get an interview with the Vice President of Global Water Systems at NSF International to clarify a lot of questions I've been getting asked. So without further ado, let's get started. So we all know how plastics contain chemicals and how they could easily be leached into the water you drink. So how does PEX differ itself from the rest of all plastics? First, let's go back and look at all the different types of pipes used to convey the municipal water to our homes. During ancient civilization, the Romans would use lead pipe aqueducts, which worked, but were super harmful to them as lead is a well-known carcinogenic today. Then came the wooden pipes in the 1800s, which were basically hollowed out logs with tapered ends that would allow for assembly and would use hot animal fat as a sealer. These pipes would eventually get replaced as they would leak a lot due to poor connections. After came ductile iron, but as we all know, iron rusts, so it eventually got replaced with plastic such as PVC, which is what newer cities have nowadays. So if you noticed, there's no perfect piping system. They all have their pros and cons, and this applies to PEX as well. So for those looking to have perfectly healthy tap water at the flick of a wrist, there's no such thing. PEX is often compared to copper as it's seen as the god of all pipes, but little do many people know, copper joints used to be soldered with lead and would contaminate the entire system. And that's not counting the flux used to solder these joints, which also contained lead. Also, if a copper system is left untouched for several days, the water could actually leach the copper and foul the lines, which is why it's always recommended to run the water for a few seconds before drinking it. Now, many of you in the community section had a lot of concerns regarding the safety of PEX, so I decided that the best thing to do would be to get some answers. And who better to contact than NSF themselves? Here's the interview I got with Dave Purkis, the Vice President of NSF International, which was formerly known as the National Sanitation Foundation. All right, so hi Dave, thanks for joining me today. I hope you're doing well.
Hi, Julio. I'm doing great.
Awesome. So first and foremost, thank you so much for doing this interview. I really appreciate your time. I know you guys are on a super tight schedule. So we'll try to make this as quick as possible. A lot of people are wondering if PEX is safe to drink from or if it isn't. A lot of people are concerned that the chemicals in PEX could get leached into the water. So I thought it would be a super good idea to talk to NSF regarding this. So if you could please start off by telling us who and what NSF is and what's your position in this organization.
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to. And thank you for the opportunity today, Julio.
No
Well,
problem.
NSF International is an international public health organization with over 75 years of commitment to protecting and improving human health, specifically in the areas of health sciences, food, and water safety. With respect to water, in the 1980s, we worked with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and Health Canada to develop drinking water product standards. And today, a majority of the U.S. states and Canadian provinces require drinking water products, such as plastic pipe, to be certified to NSF standards. And when it comes to plumbing products, NSF does two main things. First, NSF facilitates the development of product standards that set requirements for the performance and material safety of the piping system. And it's important to note that NSF is not writing the standards themselves. The actual requirements are written by a committee that's composed of dozens of representatives from regulatory bodies, public health agencies like the EPA and Health Canada, as well as manufacturers and industry associations, and also water utilities and other user and consumer groups. NSF has held to very high standards for fairness, openness, and balance in the way we develop standards, and our standards development process is inspected and accredited by the American National Standards Institute and the Standards Council of Canada. In addition to developing standards, NSF also tests and certifies products to the standards we develop, and also certify to product standards developed by other organizations. Product certification involves annual unannounced inspections of the manufacturing facilities to ensure the product is made the same way day after day, and we routinely retest certified products to ensure they continue to meet the requirements of those standards.
Interesting. So, is it safe to say that NSF is government owned, or is it private?
That's a great question. NSF is not part of the government. It is an independent third-party certification program or company that started as part of the University of Michigan. Back in the 1940s, NSF, or the University of Michigan, started writing standards for restaurant equipment.
Okay.
And they actually spun that off as an independent foundation, as NSF International, to develop standards for products that are related to public health, and then to test and certify those products.
Okay. Yeah, because I know I'm going to probably be getting a lot of that question if, there's any lobbying or any of that. So it's always good to know that you guys are private and not governmentally owned.
Yes, yeah. So we're a not-for-profit standards development organization and a product certification organization.
All right, awesome. So that was the first question. Second question is, what are the names of the standards and who actually writes them?
Yeah. So two of the most prevalent NSF standards for plastic pipe are NSF Standard 14 and NSF Standard 61. So NSF 14 addresses the performance of plastic piping systems, including things like temperature and pressure rating, long-term hydrostatic strength, structural integrity, oxidative resistance from chlorinated water, and UV resistance. The other standard that covers all drinking water products, not just plastic pipe, is NSF Standard 61, and that establishes maximum levels of chemical contaminants that are allowed to leach from the product into drinking water. So Standard 61 is a health effects standard.
Okay.
And as I mentioned before, NSF as an organization doesn't actually write the requirements of the standards. We really provide the platform for the voluntary committees to come together and compose the standards. So those NSF committees are called joint committees, develop and maintain these standards, and they meet on an ongoing annual or semi-annual basis to stay on top of new technology and research and to address emerging public health needs.
Okay.
The joint committees are made up of equal representation of manufacturers and industry professionals, regulatory agencies, and product user groups.
All right. Okay, so that's pretty good to know. So how could you tell if a product has been tested and certified by NSF? Is it written on the pipe?
Yes, written on the pipe and also on our listings. NSF has listings on our website at nsf.org that list the manufacturers and the trade names of plumbing products we've certified.
Okay.
And if products fail to meet those requirements, they do not become certified and don't appear on the list. Also, plastic pipe that's certified by NSF for drinking water will have an NSF-PW on the print strip of the pipe. And I have some pipe here today that I can hopefully show you. It's this is a PVC pipe.
Okay.
And it has the print strip that hopefully you can see. And it has all sorts of information. It has the pressure rating, the temperature rating, and it has this NSF-PW mark. And so that means that NSF has certified this product for potable water So it's met all the requirements of NSF Standard 14 and NSF Standard 61.
All right, so that's pretty good. It's good to know that a consumer can actually check these things up by just looking on the pipe or the fixture, whatever it is. That's good.
Yep.
So, in your opinion, is it actually safe to drink from PEX? Because there's all kinds of things going on about the chemicals that they could be leached inside the water. Do people need to filter it before, or they could just drink it out of the tap?
Well, that's a great question. And, water safety is something that we're all very concerned about. And the short answer is yes. PEX products, cross-linked polyethylene products that are certified NSF 14 and 61 have been independently tested and found to meet the health effects and safety requirements for use with drinking water. So yes, they would be safe. So if we're talking about a PEX product that's certified to the standards, you can confidently install and safely use that product according to the manufacturer's instructions. But one thing to add, in my 33 years at NSF, I've learned that it's misleading to talk about safe or unsafe materials or good and bad materials. Instead, it's really the final specific product that's good or bad or safe or unsafe. And it's final products that are tested and certified and appear on the NSF website. And those products are evaluated, according to the rigorous testing procedures developed by the committee and established within the standards. And hey, over the years, there are a few PEX products that have failed to meet the requirements of the standards, and so
Exactly.
they don't get certified. And the same goes for products made from PVC, CPVC, copper, stainless steel, and other materials. So, it really comes down to the specific products, whether they meet the standard rather than the material type. Because it's really a combination of the material and manufacturing processes that determines if the final product meets the requirements of the standards. But if the NSF mark is on the product, then it's met the requirements of the standard, including health effects and safety requirements.
All right. And this also applies, I'm guessing, to, let's say, if we're doing CPVC, or if we're like the glue and everything, the primer is that also has to be listed for the NSF, because I mean the water does pass in there and it could erode the cement. So
Absolutely, yeah. NSF Standard 14 covers all the components that would be used in a plastic piping system. So it includes fittings, both plastic fittings and metal fittings, because sometimes metal fittings are used with plastic pipe. It
yeah.
covers solvent cements that are used to connect PVC, CPVC products. So yeah, all of that are covered under the standard, and if they're potable water products, then they have to meet standard 61 to make sure that any of those chemical contaminants are at safe levels.
Okay. So we do know for a fact that water does the chemicals in some PEXs do get leached into the water. If so, what are these chemicals and why are they present in the water or in the pipe?
Yeah, yeah, great question. All piping materials leach some chemicals into drinking water, and that goes for stainless steel and copper as well
Yep.
as PEX and PVC. But that really is the purpose of NSF Standard 61. Standard 61 sets leaching limits for over 2,000 different chemical compounds. And these limits are based on peer-reviewed scientific data and toxicology studies to determine what concentrations of chemicals in drinking waters are safe for humans.
Okay.
And the NSF Standard 61 is actually on the NSF website. And so you can actually go and look at the standard, and it will, explain the
hmm
testing procedures that are used.
Okay. So let's say someone gets their house built, they install PEX. Um, how long how long could they actually get leached in terms of months, years, weeks, and and does it ever stop?
Yeah, so the typical test that we use to test PEX and other plastic piping products for potable water uh, is a is basically a 17-day exposure
Okay.
where then we analyze the contaminant levels and make sure it meets the requirements of the standard. We have done some extended testing on products, and we've tested up to a maximum of 90 days.
Okay.
And during that 3-month period, we do see concentrations of chemicals continue to decrease. But that's been the extent of it. We haven't uh, done studies beyond 90 days.
Okay. Yeah, because online there's all sorts of uh, lab tests that other organizations do, and they claim that they find like MTBE, all of these weird named chemicals. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
and that's a good point because, when it comes to safety and when it comes to, the toxicology of these chemical contaminants, it's really the concentration and the dose
That's it.
that's consumed that's the issue. So,
And
if you have part per trillion levels of certain contaminants, they're just fine. They're not going to cause a problem. So it's really the concentration of the specific chemical contaminant and the toxicology data for that contaminant that are important.
all right, so that's it. So as long as that part is controlled, the amount of which these chemicals we ingest, I guess everything is under control, right?
Yeah, and it's actually the pass-fail criteria that we set for those contaminants is really based on some EPA requirements, and it really assumes that you're drinking 2.5 liters of water per day with that contaminant at its maximum level for
Excellent.
70 years. So it's a pretty conservative test.
It is. I think there are things that are more damaging to the body than that.
Yep, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. So my next question is it worse on hot water lines, like for example, recirculation lines? And in your opinion, what's the max heat setting that you would recommend for this not to happen as much or for it to be less prominent?
Yeah, great question. It really depends on the material and the chemical. So typically hot water causes an increase in chemicals leached from materials. And so that's why under standard 61 and standard 14, we test water pipes at several different temperatures.
Okay.
So for example, I showed the PVC pipe earlier. PVC is meant only for use with cold water or water under ambient conditions. And so for cold water products, those are tested at ambient temperature, room temperature essentially. But then, of course, there are other products like PEX that are rated for hot water use. And there we have two classifications. We have domestic hot water, which is 60 degrees Celsius, 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's meant for hot water products that are used in residential premises. And then we also have a commercial hot water category that would be used, for example, for plumbing in a restaurant or some commercial organization where they're using very hot water up to 82 C or 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So then the final products are certified for use at those specific temperature categories, either ambient temperature, domestic hot, or commercial hot.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Um, all right. So the next question, I know I'm not gonna get a solid yes or no as an answer, but a lot of people have been asking me, does PEX or other plastic pipes, for that matter, increase the chances of getting cancer?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any information or study that's demonstrated a link specifically between chemicals leached from PEX and a
Okay.
person developing cancer. But I guess I would say that is the whole purpose of the NSF standard 61. We're calling that a health effect standard because it helps keep products that could cause adverse human health effects out of the marketplace.
That's it.
And as I mentioned, it's a pretty strenuous test, and it has some, very conservative assumptions about exposure. So I think, if the product meets standard 61, then that's not going to be an issue.
All right, good to know. Good to know. So let's say people are still skeptical of all of this. Could they go, let's say, at Home Depot or Lowe's and get an over-the-counter filter and use that? And would it make them feel better, or would it actually make a difference in terms of filtering these chemicals or not?
Well, there are many different water treatment technologies, from activated carbon to reverse osmosis products that can reduce the metallic and non-metallic contaminants in drinking water.
Okay.
In fact, NSF has developed standards for drinking water filters and other water treatment devices as well. And we test and certify water treatment devices. So if you know of the specific contaminant you want to reduce in your water, you can search the NSF listings online for products that will remove those specific contaminants.
Okay.
So again, on our website at nsf.org, if you go to the homepage in the upper right-hand corner, there's a link to product certification listings where you can find not only certified plastic pipe, but you could also find the drinking water treatment devices as well.
All right, good. I'll be linking that in the description box below for everybody to look at. All right, so that's good. So basically, anything that is certified NSF 61 or NSF 14, I think the other one was.
Yep.
Basically, it's safe to say that if we could actually drink our tap water from there, and there's nothing to worry about.
Yes, yeah, I would look for that NSF PW mark on any plastic pipe, and if it's got that, then I think you can be confident that you have a safe product.
All right, good, very good. And my last question for today is going to be, does it, like, let's say well water, or if someone has really harsh water or like very highly chlorinated water, is it going to affect PEX in a different way in terms of erosion, for example?
Well, different water chemistries definitely affect the leaching of chemicals from products. The clearest example is the pH or acid level of the water, which can have a dramatic effect on the leaching of metal contaminants from brass and other metals. So that, was a big issue with brass products leaching lead.
Yeah.
But the pH or acid level or other parameters in water can affect non-metallic materials as well. And so Standard 61 has addressed that by using several different exposure water chemistries to test various products. And that the Joint Committee has had several task groups over the years that have looked at developing different exposure waters. And so we have several in the standard today that cover a wide variety of conditions.
Good. Oh, that's pretty good to know. At least we're able to get that answer, and it's good for everybody because not everybody lives in the city, or not everybody lives on a homestead. So it's good to know.
Exactly.
All right, so that's pretty much it on my end. Is there anything else you'd like to add to complete the interview?
No, I guess, I would just end by saying, look for the NSF mark, look for NSF on the products you buy, and then you can have confidence that they meet the performance standards and the health requirements as well.
So what good information could we pull out from this interview? Well, as Dave said, there are 3 main certifications you should be looking for if you're in doubt, and those are NSF 14, NSF 61, or NSFPW, which is anything that's certified NSF 61 and more. If your piping or fixture has this homologation on it, you shouldn't be worried for your health. The other important point that Dave mentioned is that it's not the chemicals on their own that are hazardous to us, but the quantity or dosage that we're exposed to. And that's super important to grasp, guys. It wouldn't be fair to go out saying that chocolate causes diabetes or that smoking causes lung cancer if it's consumed moderately. The same goes for the chemicals in PEX. If you drink 10 liters of tap water a day, you're indeed exposed to more chemicals, which would increase your chance of developing a form of cancer or other illnesses. And lastly, the fact that NSF International isn't governmentally owned and that they're an independent entity enforces the fact that there's no lobbying in all of this and that they're a trustworthy organization that's just willing to help make things better and allow for some form of quality control. One thing I would suggest for the people that are still skeptical about drinking from PEX would be to do some water tests and bring them to your local lab to see what's in your water and to take some precautionary steps from there. So a short answer as to whether PEX causes cancer would be, it depends. Each household is different and each person has different habits. So it's impossible for anyone, including the NSF, to give a solid yes or no as an answer. What I could say is if you drink 2 liters of water a day, there aren't any concerns. But if you drink 10 liters of water a day, which is fairly uncommon, you would get more exposure and a higher chance of getting it if it's unfiltered. And that's my conclusion to this video. But I do suggest you do your own due diligence just like I did if it's really important to you. I hope this video got any fog out of the way and reassured you as there's nothing to really be scared of. As always, if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, share it, and subscribe for more upcoming videos. And until the next one, thanks for watching.